Louis Vuitton is the most valuable luxury fashion brand in the world. Its CEO, Bernard Arnault, is also the second wealthiest man on the planet with a net worth of around $180 billion. Looking at the success of today, you would never guess that the company was started by a man who was homeless during his teenage years, had no education, and slept in a forest. Louis Vuitton is a true rags-to-riches story, but the company would also be the subject of a hostile takeover, countless lawsuits, and a host of other controversies. This is the insane story of Louis Vuitton and how a tiny family business evolved into one of the most powerful brands in the world. Louis Vuitton was born in 1821 and grew up working on his family farm in France, in a small village called Anche, in the middle of nowhere. They had no electricity and no running water. Louis' father, Xavier, was a miller and farmer, while his mother, Corinne, made hats to help make some extra cash. There are no records showing that Louis ever received an education. The nearest school was in a village 6 miles away, and it's believed he worked full-time on the family farm without learning how to read or write. Louis would have been working in the fields every day from dusk till dawn, just to make enough food to help feed his family. Needless to say that Vuittons were struggling financially, and young Louis was born into a situation that should have doomed him from ever having a bright future. And then, things got much worse. Louis' mother died when he was just 10 years old, and his father quickly remarried another woman. But Louis' new stepmother was incredibly controlling and manipulative towards him, and he constantly got into fights with her. And so, when he was just 13 years old, he ran away from home, with plans to go to Paris. He slipped out in the middle of the night without even saying goodbye. There was just one problem. Paris was 225 miles away, and Louis had no money or food. So he was forced to walk along dirt roads. Most nights, he slept in the woods with an empty stomach, and just a cloak to keep him warm. Every time he ran into a new village, he would do odd jobs, in exchange for food or coins. However, there was never enough money left over for housing, so he continued to sleep in the woods or wherever he could find shelter for the night. Through these various odd jobs, Louis was able to pick up skills from craftsmen, and he learned how to work with metal, stone, fabric, and wood. This collection of various skills would later transform his life. But at this rate, travel was incredibly slow. It took him 3 years to reach Paris. Not long after he arrived in Paris, Louis was able to find work as an apprentice box maker and packer. This job allowed him to meet many people from the upper class who were looking for custom-made luggage for their travels. Louis worked here for several years, learning the craft and working as hard as he could. In fact, in 1851, the Empress of France ended up being a customer and took notice of his fine craftsmanship. She appointed him as her personal box maker and packer. For most box makers, this would be the highest honor anyone would ever achieve in their career. Louis had gone from being a homeless teenager with nothing to his name to now working a prestigious job among royalty. That was a massive achievement on its own. But Louis Vuitton had an even bigger vision for his future. After getting married when he was 33, Louis used his savings to start his own business and opened up his own box-making workshop in Paris to begin selling his own products. You see, Louis had noticed a major flaw in the luggage of the day. All of the boxes were made of leather and had rounded dome-shaped tops, so that rain would roll off the top of the luggage. The major issue was that it was impossible to stack them, so packers had to carry the boxes one by one. Louis began experimenting with different materials to use instead, and found that canvas was lighter, durable, and more water-resistant, which meant the trunks could have flat tops instead. This made everything more efficient, as it was now possible to stack them up in a pile and pack multiple trunks at one time, and they were also more compact. Louis' new suitcase design brought on the dawn of modern-day luggage. At this point, Louis had already built up his professional reputation, as well as connections in the upper class. So once he launched his new line of luggage, it was immediately a huge success. He even created a Louis Vuitton catalog so that customers could look at products that he had available and have them made before sending it to their homes. Within 2 years of creating his new suitcases, they were considered an elegant and must-have accessory amongst the wealthy, as it became a status symbol. And the brand had become so popular that he was receiving orders from around the world. He even began receiving orders from royals as far away as Egypt. In 1859, Louis made enough profit to hire a team of craftsmen to help fulfill his orders. He opened a new workshop outside of Paris, where he hired 20 employees. Around that time, more and more people were beginning to travel by train and boat. So, the number of his potential customers increased exponentially. Traveling was no longer a hobby, exclusive to the rich. People from all walks of life were now in need of high-quality luggage. It would seem as though Louis had made it and would go on to succeed for the rest of his life. Unfortunately, that was not the case. France was heading to war, and tragedy was about to strike once again for Louis Vuitton. In 1870, when Louis was 49 years old, the Franco-Prussian War broke out. Louis had to flee his home and live in a cramped shelter with thousands of others. Food supplies were extremely low, and he feared for his life. When Louis could finally return to his shop in 1871, everything was destroyed. Windows were smashed, equipment was stolen, and he had lost everything he worked so hard for. But instead of giving up, he decided to use his savings to rebuild the business. By 1872, he came out with a brand new design: luggage made of beige canvas with stripes. This became incredibly popular, and people loved showing off the modern style. Many other brands tried to copy his style, but his bags were such ridiculously high quality. Customers still preferred a true Louis Vuitton bag. For the next 20 years, Louis continued to work at this new shop in Paris, until his death when he was 70 years old. But his legacy was able to live on through his son, Georges, who took over the family business. Georges sought to expand the brand globally, such as by opening a popular store in London. At this point, Louis Vuitton luggage was so popular that many other box makers were beginning to make counterfeits. So in 1896, Georges Vuitton brought out the revolutionary new lock on the trunks that would make it impossible for thieves to pick them. By the year 1900, the company had 100 employees, and it continued to grow year after year. Georges Vuitton's passing in 1936 marked a turning point for the company, as his son Gaston Louis assumed leadership during a tumultuous time. With World War II on the horizon, the war's outbreak brought about challenges, including canceled contracts and the eventual closure of the Louis Vuitton factory due to the Nazi occupation of Paris. In a bid to save the business, Gaston collaborated with Nazi Germany, a controversial decision that has been largely hidden from public view. With Gaston's passing in 1970, his son-in-law, Henri Racamier, assumed control of Louis Vuitton, bringing a wealth of business experience. Henri elevated the brand to new heights. He orchestrated a shift from wholesale to retail and expanded Louis Vuitton's reach globally, leading to a remarkable increase in sales from $20 million to $260 million within 6 years. Bernard Arnault's involvement with Louis Vuitton commenced as a property developer assisting Henri Racamier. However, Arnault's secret acquisition of 43% of the company's shares led to a legal battle with Racamier, ultimately resulting in Arnault gaining majority control. Henri's departure from Louis Vuitton marked the end of the Vuitton family's century-long connection with the brand. Despite initial struggles after the takeover, Arnault's shrewd business acumen revitalized the company. Collaborations with renowned fashion designers during the brand's 100th anniversary collection breathed new life into Louis Vuitton, propelling it to new heights. Arnault's investment paid off spectacularly, making him the CEO of LVMH and one of the world's wealthiest individuals. In the modern era, Louis Vuitton continued its expansion, catering to a younger audience with new and colorful styles. Marc Jacobs' tenure as creative director in 1997 marked the shift towards ready-to-wear lines, and LV expanded into watches, jewelry, and sunglasses. Louis Vuitton faced ongoing challenges related to copyright infringement and counterfeiting, often resorting to legal action to protect its brand identity. Collaborations with brands like Supreme diversified the brand's reach and customer base. Despite controversies and counterfeiting issues, Louis Vuitton remains a coveted brand among the affluent. Its position as the world's top fashion brand, valued at $39 billion, underscores its enduring appeal and global presence. From wartime trials to global triumphs, Louis Vuitton's journey is a testament to the fusion of history and luxury. If you enjoyed this glimpse into the brand's evolution, hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more captivating stories from the world of fashion. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.